Welcome back to New to Medical Device Sales. I am your host, Jacob McLaughlin, and I'm coming to you today with another special guest. And I'm really excited about today's guest because today's guest has over 11 years of medical device sales experience, and not only just medical device sales experience, but medical device sales experience with one of the largest companies in the world. Has had a lot of success as a rep and has continued to climb the ladder. And so we are very excited to have Parker Rhodes on today's podcast. So, Parker, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jacob. Appreciate it.
Yeah, really appreciate you taking time out of your day. And just for all the listeners, like I gave you a little intro, but would love to hear, who's Parker Rhodes?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a good question. I actually went to school here in Arizona, ASU. Ended up majoring in business. So I did a major in business administration, minor in mass communications. Came out of that and started doing business to business sales. And then after about 4 years of that, ended up getting into the medical device world and had been in it, which used to be Covidian, now Medtronic, as they acquired us about 4 years ago for 11 years. So I was a seller for the majority of that for about 9 of it. And then the last 2 years, I've spent one of them as a disease consultant for metabolic and thoracic business. So a little bit different, a lot more consultative. But yeah, that's me. I'm a little more boring in the device space. I've only been with one medical company, but they've treated me well, and I'm loyal, and I'd like to kind of continue to grow with the company and not try to start over somewhere else. So it's here we are.
I love it, man. I love to see it. And I always love asking this question to people with it. So you went to college, you did B2B sales experience. Why medical device sales? How'd you even find out about medical device sales?
So my father's a physician. I've got a lot of medical history in my family. So I knew I didn't want to go to med school. I kind of saw that life. I saw kind of the trend of, really having to work your tail off to get where you want to go. And granted, that's a great motto for any business, but at the same time, it's just, you're exhausting yourself. You're spending a lot of time at the hospital. You're spending a lot of time with patients. That equates to not spending as much time with family and friends, and being able to enjoy the spoils of what you do. And so that kind of made me take a hard turn towards sales and towards business and towards that side of it. So I always kind of knew in the back of my mind I wanted to get into either med device or pharma or something in the medical world, just because I felt like you're making a difference in somebody's life, whether that be the patient or the doctor, the surgeon, the nurse, whoever you're talking to.
Yep.
So to me, that was after doing B2B sales for about 4 years. No offense to copier sales or anything else, but if I upgrade you 10 pages per minute for a color copier, I'm probably not making your day that much more amazing or saving anyone's life. It's a little less exciting, but at the same time, I knew I wanted to get in medical somehow. I didn't know, again, because it's so broad, if I wanted to go surgical or if I wanted to go pharmaceutical, or if I wanted to go, there's so many different areas, dental. I mean, you can go to any area.
Yeah.
And I ended up in the med device sector.
Love it. Love it. And with that, how did you choose, like you said, there's a lot of different sectors. Is it was just medical device kind of was the one that came first, or after doing more research, talking to more people, one drew you more than pharma or dental sales? Because we haven't even talked about dental sales on this before. We've talked about pharma, but
Sure.
those different options.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of was at my dad's clinic, and I kind of got to see a lot of the pharma reps that would come in, and I thought it was great. I was in high school, and I was like, wow, these guys are rolling up in a Mercedes and bringing $300 worth of lunch and trying to get 10 minutes of my dad's attention. And so when I thought about it from a medical process and where I wanted to be and everything else, I knew I wanted to be in med. I don't really think I didn't really want to do dentistry stuff, and not that it was bad. I thought that I could kind of reach a little higher for me.
Yep.
And I know that I had interest in the operating room, and speaking with surgeons and people, because that's where you can, in my opinion, make some really big headwinds with products and outcomes. So I actually kind of talked with my dad and my aunt and a bunch of people who work in surgery and other types of medicine. And they just said, hey, surgical device, these folks, they're very buttoned up. They're very well trained. They, know how to sell appropriately in a hospital situation, which can be difficult for a lot of people because
Yeah.
coming from business to business to hospital, as it can be touchy, and you have to be able to toe the line and not cross that line sometimes, because even though you can do that in B2B and you burn yourself, burn your reputation with one account, you can't do that. So in the medical world. So that's kind of how I found out. I used medreps.com,
Yeah.
and that was kind of how I started. I had a couple different recruiters here in town that were asking me about it. I think I was 26 at the time.
Yep.
And so I was, did the B2B stuff. I said, you know what? I'm ready to make the jump. I'm tired of knocking on doors in 110-degree heat with a suit on. I've been successful with it. I've had things, accolades and rewards that I can, stories I can fall back on of success and how I really built something for, my territory and for my company. So it was kind of that point where I knew I needed to move forward, and however that was, whether that was with Medtronic, whether that was with any company in the medical device world, I know I wanted to. And I went on probably 10 or 15 different interviews
Yep.
with companies that were of varying sizes. So I had some that were tiny, that were, in a warehouse somewhere in downtown Tempe. And, I'm talking to the vice president at the first interview, and I'm like, no, that doesn't sound good. So, and then, obviously a large company at the time called Covidian, which, was a big player. I ended up getting an interview, and they had a position open for an actual territory in their airway division. And so it would encompass, Phoenix and Vegas and everything else.
Yep.
And I made it all the way to the last guy. I flew to Chicago and met with him. And, he just said, hey, unfortunately, you don't have any medical device sales experience. And, being in business to business sales and learning, how to spin sell and how to really kind of, feel out how you're doing in an interview or in a process, it really bothered me because he knew that I didn't have any med device sales. You see that, the first 5 seconds of looking at my resume. So I was super frustrated. I was very, very upset. I thought the world was going to end. This stinks. I'm not going to make it in. And then, ironically, the manager who I interviewed with before the AVP said, "Hey, listen, like we really want you within Covidian. Like, we think you're an awesome candidate. There's other divisions. Like, are you willing to relocate?" And I was like, "I'm not going to relocate. I'm good. I live in the 6th largest city in the nation. I'll find something."
Yep.
And I wasn't upset. I kept my cool with him, and we ended up continuing to stay in contact. And sure enough, this was probably about 2 or 3 months after, I got a call from a recruiter who said, "Hey, we're looking for essentially an associate sales rep position here in Phoenix." It was in a different division. So I was like, okay, well, we talked a little bit about it, and of course, some recruiters know a lot and some know nothing. So you kind of have to really dig deep a lot of times with them. And it ended up being the largest sector of Covidian, the largest division. So I said, okay, great. So I just told myself, I am going to sell myself to this manager and everybody else. They were looking to make a decision pretty quickly. And so put together my presentation. I had the regional manager who I that I interviewed with for the previous position shoot the hiring manager of this role. Hey, we passed on Parker, but you really need to take a hard look at him because he's got great great relationships. He's got, great sales tactics, and he's pretty sharp. So, and that's tough because you're 26, you're wanting to make a jump. It's not easy to get into medical sales.
No,
It is
not at all.
It is. It is a process. It is a painful one. It is not something that comes very easily. And if you do get in, it's kind of like you got into the club. Now you're in the club, right? So, but the hardest part is getting in. So anyway, interviewed with them, made it to the final 2, and found out that I was accepted as the ASR for that division. Worked for that division. Well, still in that division, essentially, just now within Medtronic, but got to kind of cut my teeth for a year and understand, how the business runs how to sell to specific surgeons, what products to sell, why, what's the strategy, when do you need to be in the OR, when is it good to do administrative stuff, just kind of everything. And so I
Yeah.
think that was what was really helpful, was having that associate or territory development role is what they called it when I was in it, just to learn. And I think that's where you get to be a sponge, because if you don't come from, even if you come from the medical world, you're going to need to fine tune your sales skills. If you come from the business world, you're going to have to learn the anatomy and learn the talk tracks, and really learn how to toe the line with people you talk with, because you're not talking to a receptionist
Yeah.
who's making 30 grand less than you. You're talking to a doctor who's making 300 400 grand more than you, and they don't, unless they need your product, they don't care who you are, because they see people all the time. And to be honest, with any type of doctor, and I know this because I have several in my family, it's not easy to talk to them.
Yeah.
A lot of them can be very standoffish. They can be antisocial. They can be jerks. I mean, while everyone else in college was having fun, they were studying. So it's
Yep.
kind of on their. This is their time to shine and make money and take care of the patients, and they get approached all the time. So that was kind of my journey. It was painful. I ended up, like I said, going through a couple of recruiters, went through med reps, probably did 12 interviews with different companies. And I had quality sale, business to business,
Yeah.
experience. And I found out, years after, that that's a big plus sign for a lot of employers, especially in the medical device world, is how to quantify what you've done,
Yes.
whether that be, doesn't matter what it is, whether it be a copier, whether it be a Bible, whether it be a, whatever it is, and even for you as a personal trainer in a, previous life, here's how you built your business,
Yep.
even though it was your own business, it wasn't for said, big company. It was really, how did you build your brand? How are your success stories going to be relatable to what they're going to want to see? Because it doesn't matter what you sell business to business wise. If you are successful and you have anything in sales, you're going to have similar stories
Yep.
regardless of what you sell. So it's, overcoming objections. It's how did you win the sale? How did you, customer gets upset. How did you save the day? How did you, all these situational questions that if you've been in sales long enough, you'll know about, or if you're on your own business or whatever you experience. And so I think that's where I was able to excel. I was, a good age too. They kind of like that 25 to 35 range
Yep.
for, someone who's going to be an associate rep. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
I ended up, it was a good fit for me because it made sense to make the jump from a financial standpoint. It made sense from a career change standpoint. And it was one of the best, if not the best, career decisions I've made so far.
I love that, man. And I can't stop but smiling because, like, I'm going to tell everybody that was listening to please go back and listen to the last 10 minutes like 5 times. Because, Park, you went into so much detail that, we talk about on here so much, but like to hear your story and what you went through in the roller coaster, with someone who even had B2B sales experience and proven B2B sales experience where you were good at it, going through the process, like you went through so many points. And I just wanted to touch on, like we've talked on here on the podcast, for me, I never really had recruiters because I just didn't have that B2B sales experience, right? Like they weren't really interested because they're going to go with who they think they're going to get paid on, and the best fit that they have. But you just put in so many good points of, handling those objections. We already know they're coming, and just being able to bounce back and how to talk to. But the one thing I really haven't ever gone into much detail with, and I would love to with you, is your experience with B2B sales experience, why you felt like that was a great starting point for you to get into med device sales, and then just a little more like you were already doing, and you already touched on it, but like the associate sales rep, why going into it and why that building phase is so important. Because I've had, we get these people and they'll hear my story, and I make sure to let that very well known. I was fortunate to land a full line sales rep role with Medtronic. That was by luck. Like you can't plan that two reps are going to quit in the same day. And the position's opening and that happens, like, yes, I worked hard, but I say that because I'll have people reach out to me and they think I'm a new college grad. They're on top of the world. And they're like, I don't need to do the associate sales rep role. I'm just going to go be a full line sales rep. And I'm like, it's not like that. It doesn't work here. It's not just as easy, but I would love to, as someone who's done it all, just to hear your feedback to those people, like how important the business to business sales was for you and how it kind of led
Sure.
into being an associate to be where you're at now.
Yeah. So again, I grew up in the copier industry, which is, copier, ADP, Paychecks, those kind of companies, Kimberly Clark, those kind of where your newly college grads that I worked with typically went. And I think I was 22 when I went there. So pretty fairly new college grad. Um, I had a couple fraternity brothers who worked in it. Um, I saw that they were very successful doing it. And I said, all right, well, because I wasn't in sales. I didn't plan on going into sales, let's put it that way. So I came out of college and I went and worked for a division of marketing division of Budweiser for about a year. And I just said, you know what, I don't want to do this. They're gonna try to make me sell beer here locally. I don't really want to sell beer for a living. I drink too much of it anyways. I don't need to be selling it. So I basically was like, you know what, let's do something else. So I ended up going to this company, and they're hungry for kids that are 22 to 25 years old, shoot, even probably up to 40, because for them, at least in this role, and a lot of times the B2B roles, if they're true hardcore B2B, you're not, you eat what you kill.
Yep.
So if you don't sell anything that month, sorry, you better have some savings,
Yep.
ready to go, because there is no salary. It's all commission. Now, granted, for the company that I worked for, it was, you took home 40% of the gross profit that you sold. So, you sell a deal and there's $5,000 gross profit. That's pretty nice take home money.
Yep.
However, that doesn't, you're not guaranteed to do that every week or every month or whatever it is. So it's very high stress. But it was easy for a B2B sales, or excuse me, an organization that's like that, because they're not going to have to fire you. You're going to quit if you're
Yep.
not good at it. And if you don't want to work hard. And that's where it really made the difference. Cause if you went out and you passed out 300 cards in a day, you're going to stumble into deals. And
Yep.
that's how it works in the beginning of it, whether you're doing, again, copier, software, whatever it is. If you're face to face and you're trying to, garnish who the person is you need to talk to, or the decision maker, if you will, you're going to run into stuff. Oh, well, we're bidding that right now. Oh, well, we're almost up on our contract. So number one, it was really just pure and simple hard work, whether that's beating down the phones, whether that's beating down doors, really trying to harness in and make sure that you're with them to somebody, which is what's in it for me, or what's in it for them, is, nice and tight. And you're able to really kind of keep them on the phone to get an appointment, and then go to the appointment and see the situation. And while you're at the appointment, you're analyzing what it is, and you're, organizing all what they spend, looking at their contracts. And within about 15 to 20 minutes, you better be ready to try to close them or write up a contract. And if you're not, somebody else is going to do it.
Yep.
And there's plenty of companies in town. So that to me was what gave me kind of alligator skin, is what I call it,
Yep.
because you get a lot of cards thrown back at you. You get receptionists to tell you to get the heck out of there. You get, no soliciting signs in your face. You've been out in the middle of the heat or whatever it is, or cold, wherever you are, for 2 or 3 hours. You're just like, I don't want to do this. This stinks. But, it's always potentially that next business that you walk into that is going to be, potential paycheck for you. So,
100%.
over time, the sales skills will be refined. There's a lot of practice, which I think is one of the biggest things that companies look for is, what sales books have you read? What's your knowledge of it? Even if you haven't been in sales a long time, or, even if you're a personal trainer, you're selling yourself, you're
Yep.
selling your services. So you really are. I laugh when people are like, well, I've never been in sales. Well, you own a company, then yeah, you're doing selling,
Yep.
like you're buying and selling, and you're making business decisions. So yes, you are. You have to, sell your product or service to make money. So
Yeah.
I think that was probably the biggest factor for me, was learning how to sell, the process of the sell, and then learning how to close business quickly. Because if you don't, in any industry, someone else will.
Yep.
And that translated very well into medical device sales, and especially with the associate sales rep position, because in that position, you get to sell, but you really get to learn, and you really
Yep.
get to be a sponge, and you get a nice flat salary job, no commission based. Typically, some of them are, but it's rare. Um, and you get to go and work with all of the sales reps in that territory or different states or whatever it is, ride alongs. You get to meet their customers, you get to meet the staff, you get to navigate the labyrinth of what a hospital is, and figure out where do you check in, who do you talk to, who do you not talk to. It's a very big chess game that you have to play. And so having that, year to 2 years of learning that, I think was essential. And I think was really helpful to understanding, okay, well, I liked what rep A did and what his pitch is. Rep B's, I don't know, a little more green, maybe a little too aggressive. I wouldn't go that route. Rep C's got great presentation skills and Rep D's extremely analytical. So I want to take what I like about all of them and I want to formulate my own strategy. And so you truly get to pick how you want to run your own business once you become a full line rep. But going into it, if I would have gone into, even with great business to business sales background, if I would have gone into being a straight rep, my head would have been spinning in circles. And
Yeah.
it because you go in there and the minute you're done with training, and I mean, you've been with Medtronic, we have a great training program, and Covidian had an excellent training program that people modeled, a lot of the companies modeled. You feel overtrained, but you're also overwhelmed when you get
Yeah.
in that territory because if there was an ex rep that you can talk to or somebody else that's been in the hospitals or helped out or whatever, great. But in a lot of instances, you don't have that knowledge. You
Yeah.
don't have that information. That person has left the company. And now you're sitting there saying, okay, well, I got to start from square one. And especially when you're selling in the OR in the hospital, you've got about 5 different areas that you have to know who those people are. They got to know who you are. And if they don't, and you cross a line or you do something or say something you shouldn't, or you're selling something where you shouldn't be, that can cause some big waves. And your credibility is all you got, especially in medical device,
That's it.
because if you tick off a really busy surgeon or a busy doctor or whoever it is, they remember that stuff. So your credibility is essential. And yeah, I had to really tone down a lot of the, not aggressiveness, but just trying to close somebody on something that day.
Yeah.
The sales cycle is a lot different in medical device. And I imagine it is for pharma and dental. I mean, it's just different because you're not taught to tell somebody, okay, you don't want my business, or I can't gain your business. Fine, great. You know, I'll go find somebody else. I'm not going to continue to work with you. I'm not going to continue to keep in touch with you.
Yeah.
But that's not how it is. This is something where it's very methodical. You are meeting them for the first time. You're getting to know each other. You're doing a lunch. You're doing, you're meeting them in the OR or wherever it is, cath lab, dental office, whatever. You go grab dinner or a drink or something if they're amicable to doing that. And it's a staged process, which makes it tough. But at the same time, after learning how to navigate that and how to toe the line with personalities and read body language, very efficiently, and understand when someone's really uncomfortable and understand when you can kind of go and push a little bit farther. I think that's what makes it a refined skill, especially in med device, is that you really learn what's a good strategy. And not all the strategies are the same with
Yep.
every surgeon or every hospital, but it's definitely a lot different, especially in the med device world, because it's all contracted now.
100%, 100%. And again, guys, just listen to that. That was such a wealth of knowledge. Go back because just to like what to expect, and just that knowledge. And I was smiling and laughing because I was fortunate to have Parker. Parker got a couple calls from me with being a green guy, didn't know what I was doing, trying to figure some stuff out, and so he was nice enough to get on some calls with me to help me out because I was trying to make it as best as I could, but there's always those learning experiences. So it was always nice to have someone like Parker in my corner, and I encourage you guys to. That's why we encourage you guys to network and reach out. But Parker, we want to respect your time, and again, I'm thanking you so much with everything. But I already know this is going to happen because people always reach out, and they're going to be like, they hear the people on the podcast, they reach out right away, which is good, and I love it. But at this point, you've talked to thousands of people wanting to break into medical device sales over your career, and I would love to just hear, after thousands of conversations, what you look for in people that are breaking in and how to do it the right way and not just be, we joke around. I actually just had someone today. I probably said it a million times. Stop calling or like messaging me and asking for a random job when I don't know who you are or anything. And we always laugh about it. But Can you kind of tell me like when people reach out, how you know if they're good, how they're bad, what you look for, and kind of those positives for somebody reaching out to you?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I think the biggest thing, and you kind of hit the nail on the head, and I've gotten a good amount of it. And I'm not going to say it's been recently or in the past. It's kind of been sporadic, but do your homework. I think is huge. When I was going through this, I didn't have LinkedIn. I didn't have a lot. We didn't even have YouTube back then. So, or we did, but it was very, very basic. So, you know, I think the biggest thing is, respect the person that you're talking to's time and what you're asking them. Because if I was to message someone who I've never met, don't know, um, you know, just connected with you because it's LinkedIn and you're trying to build a network. Really be genuine, but at the same time, be respectful of their time and say, "Hey, I'm very interested in getting into this. I'd love to, either join on a quick call, or if you're honestly, if you're in the same city or the same state or you're accessible to that person, I'd love to buy a coffee, and just kind of talk about it for 15, 20 minutes. Everybody's got time, but I'm not going to make time for somebody that says, "Hey, I see there's an opening in this Medtronic division that I'm not even in. And could you put in a good word for me?" And I'm like, I don't even know who you are.
Exactly.
A and B, no. I mean, I've been doing this for 11 years. I've gotten a lot of people jobs who I know and helped out. I know you reached out to me. I know when you started this
Yep.
transition, and I think I'm more than happy to have a conversation with somebody, but I don't owe you anything.
Yep.
And I need you to come at me and say, "Hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm really interested in breaking in. Here's what I've done in terms of, or here's who I've reached out to. And here's a specific position I want to learn a little bit more about. I see that you're in this same division or that you work for Medtronic. Is there any way if you're not a part of this process or somebody that's in this division, any way you could pass me on to somebody?" And I'd be very appreciative. And I'm actually a very, very nice person. I've done it for people that I probably shouldn't have because I just kind of wanted to help out in the beginning stages. But over time, like I'm picky, and you think I'm picky, try to go after managers or try to go after folks who've done it for 20 years who give gotten this tenfold from me. And so, and be respect, if someone doesn't reach back out to you, or they, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, people are busy and we get pinged on this stuff all the time, but do your homework, be respectful. Hey, if and be realistic too. Like I've
Yes.
had people reach out to me that are, you know, halfway across the country. And they just want to have a conversation. It's like for a job that's not in Arizona. So it's kind of like, I'm happy to kind of just message you, but I'm not going to sit there and get on a phone call with somebody that is trying to get a job in Maine. Like you need to network and talk to somebody in Maine, or you need to, be realistic. And if you're willing to relocate, great. But it's hard when you say to a recruiter or to me or to someone else, well, where are you willing to relocate? Oh, anywhere. I'll do anything. I'll get, you can smell desperation very quickly.
Exactly. Yep.
And let's be honest, you're not going to want to move anywhere. If you're living in California, you're not going to want to move to Montana probably or somewhere else. So be very realistic. And I think it's okay. Med reps I think is still relevant. I don't
Yep.
know, I haven't been on it for a long time, but I think that was relevant in regards to, companies and things that I know that were hiring. Because, back when I was doing it, it was like monster.com and stuff like that, which was a joke. I wasn't
Yeah.
going to, the stuff I got sent from them was ridiculous. So I guess to kind of sum it up, if you're going to message somebody, just tell them who you are. Don't make it a 2-page ordeal that what you do currently. You're looking to get into medical device. Can you meet for a coffee, or could you have a 10 or 15-minute call? If they give you 30 minutes, be very surprised,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of these calls, and everybody's busy and they got stuff going on, especially during the day. And just be respectful. I've had a couple that I've had to bite my tongue because I was like, you're reaching out to me. I don't know who you are. I'm not, or if you got a friend or a connection with somebody. So for instance, like if you looked under LinkedIn, which again, LinkedIn is a wealth of knowledge and very, very nice platform. Hey, I see your, LinkedIn with so and so, I am actually somebody who you're a friend with, or some sort of affiliation, if you
Yeah.
have one, I think makes it a lot warmer rather than just, hi, I'm Parker and I want to get into med device sales. Or, hey, I'm looking, or, be a little broader. I'm looking to get into the medical world. I'd love to pick your brain for 10 minutes or
Yep.
something like that. And I've done it a lot, and I'll continue to do it. I enjoy helping people, as I know you do.
Yep.
But at the same time, too, I'm just more picky now because, yeah, I'm busier and I've got, new role stuff like that going on. So I'm happy to help when I can, but for folks that are listening, I would just say have a plan. And it's going to take a lot. Like,
Yeah.
even though you messaged 10 people on LinkedIn and no one responded, well, guess what? You have to go deeper, and don't just send a canned response. Try to make it personal, and make it relevant.
Yes.
There's, depending on what state you live in, there's a lot of medical sales rep everywhere. So, I think it's a good thing too to not just try to talk to people in one company. Go to folks who work for Stryker, go to folks who work in the cath lab, go to folks who work in radiology,
Yes.
different companies. Google's a beautiful thing. You can look at who are the top 10 biggest or top 25 biggest companies in X area, or if you want to go into dental, look that up. And then you can do a search, obviously through LinkedIn, which is huge because then you can start networking. So I tell people, when they treat it as LinkedIn, not as Facebook, right? Like
100%.
keep it professional. Don't expect anybody owes you anything, because they don't. And like I said before in the beginning of this, once you're in the club, you're in the club. And if someone's sitting outside the club,
Yep.
we don't have to help you. We don't have to help you get in,
Yep.
but we understand the fight and the time and the energy and the frustration that it takes to get into it. I know you do yourself. And so it makes you want to, give back to the greater community, especially because I was a 26-year-old looking to get into.
Yep.
But I think lastly, I'll kind of, tell you, you got to have good expectations, and you got to have reasonable expectations. I did business to business sales for 4 years before I even sniffed a territory development job, and I got lucky with one of the biggest companies in the nation. Did same thing. Sometimes it's just luck,
Yep.
and sometimes you just you get a good patch of interviews and you get lucky and you make it to the end. And once you make it to the end, you give it all you got, and you're not missing one detail, because that's the difference, especially right now with hiring and what's going on with the way that hiring has changed. I'll
Yep.
say it's a different world. So one little tiny thing, even if it's a follow-up thank you email, can make a difference between you and the candidate who did it. And so I would just say, don't get discouraged. And you know what? If I told this to a candidate the other day, I said, if you don't get a second interview, or they continue to kind of brush you off because of your experience, which obviously is very limited, then go get the B2B job. I
100%.
mean, medical device is sounds really, really great, but I'll be honest with you, it's sales.
Yep.
You are growing your pipeline, you're growing your revenue for a company, just as you would do in any other industry. It's a lot cooler and sexier for people because they think you drive the cool cars and you make the big money and everything else. And in some instances, yeah, you can do that, and you can kind of be choosy about how you run your territory and your business. But at the end of the day, it's sales. And
Yep.
so don't lose that focus and think that it's all about medical and knowledge and all that stuff. It is about that, but 99% of companies are going to be able to teach you what you need to know from a medical standpoint. And they're going to,
Exactly.
because I didn't know, I had no background in medicine, I didn't do, I mean, other than like biology and chemistry and stuff I had to take
Exactly.
to get through business school. I did not have one iota of that. I mean, yeah. Now that's not to say that if you come from that, I've seen a lot of people that have come from being a nurse or come from being a coordinator or somebody at a hospital or something like that, and they have that medical knowledge. They have the other side of it where they know how the hospital runs. They know who to talk to, how to create relationships and all that stuff within the arena that they're going to be selling in. But it's not rare, but it's just you don't see it as much. And I think that's because it's hard to say, okay, if you're going to go from working in an operating room to going and selling an operating room, okay, well, there's some relatable skills there. But if you're going to go from working in an operating room to go sell pharmaceuticals, yeah, doctors, great. A lot of people can get to know doctors, you
Yep.
know what I mean? So I think that's kind of the biggest situation. But just, stay humble, work hard, network like heck, and it just takes time. And if you don't break into it, in the first try or the second try, go get the B2B experience. Doesn't matter who it's with, because if you can be successful in that and you can show that that transfers, which it does 9 out of 10 times to medical or whatever you want to do, it's going to give you a lot better shot of getting you where you want to go.
100%. And then, guys, again, I know I've said it several times, like just replay that, especially just for you guys reaching out, what to expect, but also, just expectations on how to go about it. And again, like we've talked about, it's a roller coaster. But again, Parker, just again, thank you so much for taking time to just share with our listeners, because I know this has been very valuable to everybody listening. I just want to say thank you again for your time and sharing these tips with everyone.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, and good luck, everybody, and appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, press that like and subscribe button. If you guys are listening on the podcast, a 5-star review helps us grow this channel. If you guys are interested to learn more about the course where, we've helped over 500 people break into medical device sales at this time, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn at Jacob McLaughlin, new to medical device sales on Instagram. We have the TikTok, basically every social media you can imagine. Feel free to reach out. We can schedule a Zoom call. If you guys have questions, again, always happy to jump on calls with you guys as well. So feel free to reach out us on there. And lastly, you'll see I'm wearing my pink I broke in shirt. We finally got those up. So again, you guys can go to the new to medicaldevicesales.com, check it out. And if you guys would like to grab a shirt once you guys break in, you can definitely grab that. But like always, you guys, truly appreciate you guys listening. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Get after it, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.